All right, Shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rakakudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught us this truth, and Shalom to the hopeful elect. All right, the Akim and the Aqua around scattered around the four corners of the planet Earth. All right, I'm the brother Arak from GMS Dallas, and I'm going to entitle this lesson "Prepare to Bite Down." All right, prepare to bite down, and the inspiration of this lesson, is from Yahweh Shem Yahushua, and I was just meditating on the news. All right, meditating on the things that are going on right now, domestically, all right, within the United States, but also internationally, specifically between the U.S. and Iran, Israel and Iran. All right, if you haven't been living under a rock, you'll see that over the past really 6 months to a year, but especially this last few weeks, things are escalating. All right, prophecy is moving forward, and it's moving forward rapidly. Okay, and with that, we know that real times are here. All right, it's not really, we can't even really say it's coming anymore. All right, Jacob's trouble is not coming. Jacob's trouble is here. All right, the persecution of the ministry is not coming. Really, it's already here. Things are just going to escalate, from this point on. But that's okay. All right, that's okay, because the Lord didn't give us the spirit of fear. All right, and a matter of fact, we're gonna start there just to start off the lesson. All right, and I'm gonna leave that screen shared, going into that word grit, because we're gonna go into that, because that's what this thing is ultimately about. This thing is about grit. All right, or in other words, faith. All right, and your ability to basically endure, based off of your faith. All right, scriptures say in Matthew 24, and we're gonna get it. He that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. So this thing isn't about being deep. This thing isn't about being the smartest guy in the room. This thing isn't about clicks and views. This thing is about endurance, pain tolerance, a chin. Do you got a chin? But this is 2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7. It says, "For Yahweh Shem Yahushua have not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." All right, and power, love, and a sound mind. All right, that's going to produce grit, man. All right, that's going to allow you to basically withstand the evil day. All right, that makes me think of that scripture where it talks about having done all to withstand. All right, I believe that's in Ephesians 6. All right, but going back into the title of the lesson. All right, prepare to bite down. Okay, and I'm gonna get Matthew 24 real quick, and then we're gonna get into the meaning of that phrase. Okay, this is on Matthew chapter 24, and I'm gonna start at verse 3. It says, "And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" All right, and we're living in the end of the world. Okay, and the end of the world is not the end of the entire planet Earth. The end of the world is the end of a rulership. Okay, the end of Esau's kingdom, which is primarily going to be linked to the destruction of America. All right, the destruction of America and this global empire, all right, known as NATO and the EU. All right, in which America is the primary benefactor. All right. So let me get real quick. Oh, Salakia. Let me read that verse again. This is Matthew 24 and 3. It says, "And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world?" All right. Now I wanted to get this real quick. This is milk scripture, but it's important because when people talk about the Bible, they tend to use generalities. All right. Or even people in general, they tend to use these vague general statements. All right. Like the end of the world. Okay. When the scriptures talk about the end of the world, it's not saying the entire planet Earth is going to be destroyed. Okay. The scriptures say the Lord created the earth to be inhabited. Right. The scriptures also talk about a new heavens and a new earth. The new heavens and the new earth is still this same planet. All right. But the planet Earth is getting ready to be rejuvenated. All right. Reconstructed under the authority of Yahweh Shah in the house of David. All right. The kingdom is going to be here on earth, but it starts with the end of this current world system. All right. So this is 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. It says, I'm going to start at verse 7. 2nd Ezra 6 and 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall the parting asunder, or what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And we're witnessing the end of the first. We're witnessing the end of America right now. All right. And if you don't believe that this is the end of America, all right, just go on the internet. Just go outside. All right. Go be around people for more than 2 minutes. All right. Everybody's miserable. All right. Everybody's stressed the hell out. Everybody's divided. All right. Everybody's in debt. Okay. There's concrete every goddamn where. Plants are dying. Animals are dying. The weather is all over the place. All right. There's nothing normal about this situation. There's nothing normal about life here in America. It's a bunch of dead men walking. It's a bunch of zombies, man. Like when you watch the TV show The Walking Dead or one of these zombie apocalypse movies or TV shows, that's pretty much what's going on here in America in the spirit. All right, this place is spiritually and morally dead, man. And guess what? The spiritual reality is getting ready to manifest itself in the physical reality. All right, in the form of famines, pestilence, all right, death and destruction. You know, all the plagues that the Lord is getting ready to bring on this place. You know, but this is verse 8. It says, And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, right? Because Esau was born first. Okay, Esau, right, who was begat of Isaac, right? He came out first. All right, but Jacob was holding on to his heel, and that's symbolically represented. Okay, Jacob bringing down Esau out of his rulership. All right, and that's exactly what we see taking place. We see Yahweh Shah, all right, who is an Israelite of the tribe of Judah, so-called black man. All right, we see him through the spirit, all right, laying the board, putting the pieces, in place for his return. All right, that's all that's taking place. All right, the U.S. attacking Iran, all these various things going on around the globe. All this is Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah, all right, setting the stage for his return. And how do we know that? We know that because of prophecy. We know that because the Lord told us what he was going to do before he returned. And we're going to go back into that in Matthew 24. But let me get the last point on this. This is 2nd Ezra 6 and 9. It says, For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. All right. So again, the end of the world is going to be, is going to happen, right? The end of this system. But guess what? After this system is over, there's going to be a new system. All right. And that new system is the kingdom of heaven. All right. The house of David governing the planet Earth. Okay. So let's go back to Matthew 24. All right. This is Matthew chapter 24. In verse 4, it says, And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. All right. And we see that now. All right. We see that now, and we're going to continue to see it. We're going to see people claiming to be the anointed, claiming to have the answers, claiming to have the way. All right. And they're going to deceive a lot of people. All right. But this is the point in verse 6. It says, And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. All right. And that's what we see taking place right now. Okay. We're getting the news. right? We're getting these reports from various sources on YouTube, on Twitter, all right, online, all right. But at the end of the day, these things are rumors. All right. Now we check, we check and we verify. You want to verify things before you publish them and put them out there. All right. But there's a certain thing called the fog of war. All right. The fog of war. Okay. So matter of fact, let me define that real quick. Let's get the definition for fog of war. Okay. Because again, a lot of this stuff that you see online is just rumor. It's just hearsay. Okay. So this is what it says on ChatGPT. It says fog of war, what it means. It says literal military context. It says the uncertainty, confusion, and lack of clear information experienced on the battlefield about enemy movements, strength, or even one's own purpose. All right. It says any situation where limited visibility, miscommunication, or chaos makes decision making difficult, often in politics, business, or conflict. All right. So again, this is why it's so important to stick to what the scriptures say. All right. This is why we're always linking everything up with prophecy. Okay. Sirach 39. All right. He that giveth his mind to the Most High, the law of the Most High will be occupied in prophecies. Okay. We're linking all this stuff up to the scriptures. And according to the scriptures, okay, this is just the beginning. Okay. And that's why I wanted to touch on this lesson real quick. Prepare to bite down. All right. This is just the beginning. Okay. Things are getting ready to escalate. All right. This thing is a marathon, not a sprint. It's the first quarter. Now we know we're in the very end of all things. Okay. But we know that certain prophecies still got to play out. All right. And while we're in this grace period, while the Lord is still allowing us to move around from a day to day, okay, preparation has got to continue. The preparation has got to continue. Okay. So I'm going to get the meaning of this term, bite down, real quick. All right. It says bite down generally means to firmly close your teeth together, often with purpose or pressure. All right. Now, if you've ever played a sport, all right, especially a contact sport, a full contact sport, such as, football, boxing, all right, MMA, jiu-jitsu, whatever you have it, anytime you're getting hit, all right, biting down is something that you subconsciously do. That's why you'll see people wearing mouthpieces, all right, to prevent, your teeth from, grinding up against each other. All right, basically having a support between your teeth. That's so you can bite down. Okay. And, spiritually, we're in a contact sport. All right. And this spiritual war that we've been fighting, all right, is getting ready to become physical on Esau's end. Esau's getting ready to get carnal. All right. Esau's getting ready to get physical. And we understand that. The Lord warned us about that. All right. They're going to cast us in, some brothers are going to get cast into prison. Some brothers are going to be on the move, on the run. Some brothers are going to be hidden. All right. Some brothers might be straight. We're going to see how it all plays out. But either way, all right, there's a certain level of preparation and, attention you need to be applying, okay, to your life. We're not the party, we ain't got the, I wish I got the victory. All right. But we still have to endure until the end. Okay. We still have to stand stiffly. All right. We're not in, we we're still the hopeful elect, man. All right. Now we believe that the Lord is with us. Right. We know that the Lord is with us because without him, we wouldn't have got to this point. Okay. But there's still more. All right. So let me go back to this Matthew 24 real quick, and I'm going to go back to that. This is Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. It says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Okay, so the end isn't yet. All right. We still need to see the CHIP. Right. We still need to see the MOTB. All right, which is the RFID implantable micro CHIP. We still need to see that administered on a global level, and that's coming very soon. Coming very soon, right? You had the Genius Act, all right, that just recently passed. All right, which, to sum it up, the Genius Act is basically, legal and regulatory framework that is going to allow, these digital currencies to make their way into, the commonplace, into the common markets, into the mainstream. All right, these crypto companies, these digital assets, central bank digital currencies, they're getting ready to fast track that. All right, to the people. All right, and we already know what that leads to. That leads to the MOTB. All right, and you had Trump when he was running the second time around. You had him making statements like he wants to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the world. Okay, so we're gonna see, man, because now that things are escalating with Iran, we know that cyber attacks are in the cards, right? Blackouts are in the cards, right? Matter of fact, Revelation 16 goes into blackouts, man. We were just going into that. Let me get that real quick. All right, this is Revelation chapter 16, and I'm gonna read verse. Let me see. Right, because there's going to be blackouts here in America, man. There's going to be blackouts, and it's going to be some purge type energy out here in these streets, man. Okay, and excuse me, it's not blackness, it's darkness. Excuse me. But this is Revelation 16:10. It says, "And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast." All right, and we're in the seat of the beast. Okay, when you read about the beast represents Esau's power structure. Okay, NATO and the EU, the Western Bloc, so to speak. All right. So let me read this again. Revelation 16:10. It says, "And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom," letting you know that this is a kingdom of a particular man, all right, Esau, "and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain." All right. So blackouts, darkness, all right, grid down situation is prophesied in the scriptures. All right, it is prophesied in the scriptures. All right, but again, man, we're not fearful of these things, because guess what? We have the light of this truth within us. We have the word within us. All right, the engrafted word, which is a light in itself. All right, so despite what goes on here in Babylon the Great, despite how grim it may look, we're gonna be in the spirit. We're gonna be bright, man. We're gonna be rejoicing, man. All right. But let me go back real quick. Okay. This is back in Matthew 24. Matthew 24:7. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places." Okay, and we really haven't seen the brunt of that yet. Okay, especially the first world. All right, we ain't seen that yet. That's coming in a major way. All right, we got to remember, when you read about our deliverance during the time of Egypt, those were some major, all right, society altering plagues that Yahweh Shem Yahushua brought upon them. Okay, that's getting ready to happen again. And the stage is set, man. The stage is set. The stage for famine is set. All right, you got America's fragile, supply chain. Okay, right. You got the fragile, electric grid, in which it all is relying upon. All right, and then you have the development of cyber warfare over the past few years. Okay, matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, I was seeing reports about Iran being hit with a cyber attack. Okay, so if there is a grid down situation, which there will be, that's a catalyst right there for famine, for pestilence. Okay, it says in earthquakes in diverse places, right? Because you also got HARP, man. Okay, you got HARP, you got the powers to be, okay, that have the ability to cause earthquakes here on the planet Earth. All right. So whether it's Esau doing it or whether it's the angels doing it, we're getting ready to see some major things, Akim. All right. And that goes back to the title of the lesson, prepare to bite down. All right, verse 8. It says, all these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. All right. So that's what we're preparing for through the spirit. That's what we are, meditating on. And we ain't scared. Lord didn't give us a spirit of fear. Okay. Because at the end of the day, these people are wrong. All right. These people are wrong. All right. And the testimony, of Yahweh Shem Shah and through the spirit, we haven't done, we ain't in charge. We ain't running this global system, man. All right. We ain't the ones deciding, how, water is administered and food is administered. We ain't doing that. We're slaves, man. We're prisoners. We're captives. All right. And all we've been doing is teaching the true understanding and the true knowledge of the scriptures of the Bible. So prepare to stand stiffly, man. All right. Let me get this real quick. All right. Let me get this real quick in Baruch. All right. This is Baruch chapter. Let me see. This is Baruch chapter 4 and verse 28. Let me see if I should start up. Yeah. This is Baruch 4 and 28. It says, strive for the truth unto death, and the Lord shall fight for thee. All right. So that's what we're doing. All right. Things are getting ready to get tough. All right. But that's why, again, we're going to have to demonstrate some grit, man, some endurance in this thing. Okay. Now let me get to some of this off this word grit. All right. When you get it on the Edamon online, it says sand, dust, earth, gravel. It says tiny particles of crushed rock. All right. Rock, stone. All right. And really, that's what we are. All right. We're those lively stones. All right. We're those contrite spirits. Right. When you read about, the Lord is close to a contrite spirit. When you go into that word contrite, it's basically going into being crushed, man. All right. But when you go into this word, it says sense of pluck, spirit, firmness of mind. All right. Firmness of mind. Okay. So that's what we're getting ready to, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shah. That's what he wants to see. All right. That's what Lord willing. That's what we're going to put on display. Because, even to get to this point, it's taken a certain level of firmness of mind. To teach the correct doctrine. All right. In season, out of season, man. The Lord has been building us up. The Lord has been hardening us. All right. And he's getting ready to test, his work. Okay. So let me get a little bit more. All right. Let's go back to this definition of bite down. It says bite down generally means to firmly close your teeth together, often with purpose or pressure. The exact meaning depends on context. It says literal physical meaning to clench your teeth together. All right. It says to eat or chew something firmly. Figuratively or emotionally, it says to endure something difficult or painful silently. All right. Let me read that again. It says to endure something difficult or painful silently. Okay. So if you are, Israelite man, all right, and you've been called into this thing, that's what we're preparing ourselves to do. Okay, that's what we're preparing ourselves to do. We're not preparing ourselves, all right, to fold, man, to bow the knee. All right. We also ain't preparing ourselves to cry, wolf either. We're crying out to how Bashem Yahshua for deliverance, but we also understand that we're part of the reason we're in this situation. There's a certain level of accountability that you get when you come into this thing as well. We went off. Okay. But let me read this real quick. This is Philippians 2:5. It says, "Let this mind be in you, which also was in Yahushua HaMashiach, who being in the form of the Most High, thought it robbery to be equal with the Most High, but made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men. And being found in the fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross." All right. So that's the game plan. All right. And with this obedience is going to come a reward that we aren't even capable of understanding, man. All right. And that's what the rest of this chapter basically goes in, or these next couple of verses go into. Okay. All right. Let me read verse 14. It says, "Do all things without murmurings or disputings." All right. So when these things come down, man, we're not going to be feeling sorry for ourselves either. Okay. We ain't going to be feeling sorry for ourselves. We're going to be praising the Lord. All right. That we are worthy, to be tested out and to be tried and to be potentially joint heirs with Yahushua. That's the mindset. All right. Let me get the next definition on here. It says to brace yourself mentally or emotionally. All right. To brace yourself. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to touch on that. Just want to touch on that through the Spirit. All right. Lord's willing, this lesson was edifying. I give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Rakakodash. Shalom.